Hello everybody, and this is episode 24 of How to Renovate. I'm Tash and I'm here to help you renovate better. So let's get into it. This episode, we're talking about choosing flooring. Flooring is such a huge thing in a renovation. It just covers so much of the surfaces in the various rooms. And when I'm speaking to renovators or clients, it's one of the things that actually they're most concerned about, because it's not that easy to change after the fact. They want to make sure they're making the right decision, that it will look good, that it's durable, that it's easy to maintain. So it has to do quite a lot. It's quite an important part, because it's everywhere, and it's the basis for what almost every room will look like. So it's quite a major decision, and one I find that lots of people get stuck on. So I thought I'd do this episode on flooring. I'll go through some pros, some cons, different kinds of flooring, and just some different points over the flooring decisions in general. So let's get started. As always, everything I teach falls under my 5-pillar process, and the information in this episode falls under pillar 1, planning. You can find out more about the 5-pillar renovation process at the end of this episode. So in this episode, I'm going to go over 5 things you should consider when choosing flooring for your home. Number 1 is your lifestyle and your needs. So because it covers so much and it needs to be quite hard wearing and forgiving, you really have to consider your needs, your household members, whether you have children, whether you have pets, and really how each space will be used, because you want to choose something that will perform well in high traffic areas like the kitchen, bathrooms, living room, and you want something that's kind of durable and that will maintain its kind of look and newness for a while. I love wooden flooring. I choose engineered wood quite a lot, and if you pick the right one, kind of a commercial grade one, or one that's kind of tested well, then it can work for quite a few areas in the home. So I love to use it in kitchens, bedrooms, living rooms, but really it's up to you and your taste and what you would prefer. I know loads of people prefer carpet in the bedroom, whereas I prefer a hardwood floor or an engineered wood floor, and then dressing that with a large rug, because I find the option of swapping out the rug when that gets damaged a lot easier than having to rip up flooring or fitted carpets. And then also the rug then protects the floor underneath. So if ever you wanted to just get rid of the rug completely and only have the wooden floor, you have that option as well. So that is kind of what I prefer. And I'm always trying to think of the future longevity, performance, especially for my clients, because the last thing I want is to choose something that doesn't last and then they come back a year or two later and say it's not performing for them and their family and their household needs. The second thing you should consider is maintenance. So maintenance is really important, because it just needs to be easy to maintain or to clean. I find that's what most people want. And sometimes here and there people want, they don't mind, as long as they get something quite special, they don't mind that it takes extra maintenance, extra care, extra cleaning. But I think in general people want something that's easy. So I always kind of evaluate the maintenance requirements, and it's really important that it's easy to clean, because I mean, who wants to do it themselves, clean it every day or every week, or have to hire in a professional and pay the costs of that to maintain the flooring. So I think as long as it's hard wearing and it looks beautiful, generally it can be quite easy to clean. So things that are generally easy to clean, again, are my favourites: the engineered wood flooring, a spray and a wipe every few days. Tiles are generally a good choice when it comes to easy cleaning. I mean, carpets are a bit harder depending on the colour, and they retain dust. So obviously you've got that to consider if you have allergies in the family and so on. So I think consider very carefully the maintenance, because that really can be one of the things that can be frustrating if you make the wrong decision. So what I like to do is, when I am choosing flooring, whether it be for myself or for a client, I test it out. So generally I do this on engineered flooring, because there are so many on the market and you never quite know if what you're going to get is kind of a good quality product, if it's quite if it absorbs quite a lot. Even if it is a good quality product, sometimes the layer of protection on top is not quite as resistant, so things soak into it. So what I do is actually get a real sample of the flooring and I test it to the max. I will kind of step on it with high heel shoes. I'll try and stain it with fruit like strawberries, raspberries, blueberries. I'll get coffee on there, the kids' marker pens. I'll even try Sharpies, soil, anything that I can that might get onto the floor, especially in the kitchen area. I'll put it on there. Red wine's a good one. Turmeric's another good one that stains everything. I'll get that all on there and rub it about a bit, and then I'll try and clean it off and see how it performs. And then generally I'd wipe it with just a regular detergent and some water that you would clean that type of floor with. And if anything like Sharpies or anything stains, I will try specific cleaning products and see if it removes it or at least reduces it. So in the event that that does happen, that it does get marker pen, it does get Sharpie or anything on there, you know that there is a product out there that will either remove it completely or drastically reduce the stain, so that you barely even see it, or you can at least live with the stain if that is the flooring you want to choose. I'll never forget one day, I have this gorgeous herringbone white oak flooring, which is engineered wood throughout pretty much our entire house except for the bathrooms. And my daughter was, I think, about 1 at the time, and I was chatting to my husband and we both turned around and we hadn't seen that she was sitting on the floor and she'd taken a green marker pen and drawn scribbles all the way around her entire body, and we both just nearly fainted because we had no idea. It wasn't even in a discreet area of the house. It was right in the middle of the kitchen where we couldn't hide it with a rug. And I immediately grabbed a cloth, but I kind of knew that because I tested out the flooring before with marker pen, I knew that it should come off, but I quickly just grabbed some warm soapy water and it all came off, thank goodness. And it looks fine, and you would never know it happened. But I think you have to just test these things out and just be prepared, because, you know, life happens and we've dropped things, it's got dings in it, it's got little scratches here and there, and these things happen. And I think with wooden flooring, it's quite forgiving, it adds to the character, but you have to just be prepared for what you choose. If you're choosing wood, you'll get some little dings and scratches and things and so on. And tiles are generally more hard wearing, but they can be quite cold. And then of course we've got carpet with what comes with that, which is quite a lot of cleaning and some dust retention as well. So really you need to kind of choose for your lifestyle, choose for what you like, and choose for the level of maintenance you're prepared to put up with. Number 3 is quality and durability. So really consider these, because I think, as I've kind of covered in the previous two, is that you want the performance to be good, but you also want it to look good, and perhaps you want it to feel warm. I always want to feel warm in a space. So I do love tile, and I love the pattern and all the variations of tile, but I tend to only use them in bathrooms. And this is personal, so this is for me and my home. Some clients love tile and they want to have tile throughout the kitchen and the dining room or the whole ground floor. But it's personal preference and how it makes you feel in the space and what you're prepared to clean and maintain, basically. So if you spend on good quality and choose well and test, like I just talked about, you know, it should be good, and it should resist the kind of wear and tear over the years. And also a good product like good wooden flooring, you should be able to sand it down and kind of renew it. So if you just choose well for quality and durability, it's worth spending on flooring, because it's quite difficult. It's a huge cost, a huge thing to put right if you haven't quite made the right decision. So take your time on this one. Start trying to make your decisions early on. Don't try and choose when the builder says to you, what flooring do you want here? And sometimes there's a long lead time and you just go for something that's readily available that might not be as good. So take your time on this, test, get as many samples in your hand, real samples in your hand as you can. Test those out. Test your tiles as well, for scratches, for stability, and just make sure that what you're choosing is also what you like what you like to look at and how you like it to feel underfoot, because that's also really important. You don't only want to go for durability, you also want to go for comfort and something that you're going to love for years to come. And then lastly, of course, budget comes into play, because unfortunately flooring is one of the things that go in right at the end of the project. So if you haven't budgeted for your flooring or decided on it right at the beginning of the renovation process and started to make payments towards it, by the time you get to the end of the project or close to the end of the project, and you perhaps haven't decided on your flooring or you haven't paid for it yet, you might be pushed into a position where you have to compromise and choose something that's perhaps not as durable, or that you didn't love as much. And I really would stress that flooring is a really important part of the project. So I would say, if you can, choose your flooring early on and try and get that paid for and sorted and decided quite early on in the project, so that when you get to the end, you're not having to compromise on it, because it is, like I keep saying, it's such a large expanse that you have to cover with it, and really you want it to be good and you want it to be something that you really love. So really make sure that you make the right decision on your flooring. Test, and just make sure that it's exactly what you want. Also, when it comes to budgeting on flooring, obviously things like solid wood are quite expensive. Engineered wood, a little bit cheaper, but also not as cheap as laminate. So if budget is an issue, I like to go for engineered wood again. And also, if you choose a slightly expensive engineered flooring, what happens is the layer of real wood on top of the structure is thicker, which means you can sand it down a couple of times. You can restain it, you can re-oil it. So over the years, if it does get dings and scratches, you can kind of remedy that. You can sand it back, resurface it, and you've got a brand new floor again for another good 10-15 years if you so choose. Another thing to consider when choosing your flooring and in terms of budget is actually the size of the tile and the style and the layout. For example, if you're choosing a herringbone tile or flooring, engineered wood flooring or real wood flooring, they are generally more expensive to lay, because you can imagine there's a lot more cutting, there's a lot more intricacy to laying it. It takes more skilled labor, more time, and so it does cost more to lay those down. So perhaps if your budget is tight and it is an issue, and you kind of realize that towards the start of the project when you should be choosing your flooring, is to just take that into consideration, and perhaps instead of herringbone, go for something that's plank, or go for a tile that's large and square instead of a tinier tile that's perhaps herringbone. So that really is something to consider. And then number 5 is the type of flooring. So obviously this just kind of wraps it up nicely and covers everything we've just been talking about. But the type of flooring you choose is really important because it will relate to everything we've just talked about. So the budget, the cost, the maintenance. So kind of experiment and go to showrooms, get some samples, and just kind of see what type of flooring you prefer. So by that I mean, do you prefer solid wood, engineered wood, tile? Would you prefer carpet in the bedrooms or wooden flooring in the bedrooms? And you know, how does that feel underfoot? Do you appreciate the way that feels in the room? So just kind of go through room by room, or overall I do like to use just one type of flooring in the majority of a home. I just feel like it makes the home feel more spacious, and it also saves sometimes on costs because it's just the same type of flooring that the contractors need to lay throughout, except for here and there in the bathrooms, for example, I'll use tile, and then I'll accessorize with rugs. But kind of just figure out what you like. You may already know what you like. You may already have your preferences, but just for example, I'll give you a little list of some of the types of options, types of flooring you've got. So we've got solid wood, we've got engineered wood, we have laminate flooring, vinyl flooring, tile flooring, carpet, bamboo flooring, cork flooring. So obviously those are the kind of more eco options, and again, if you know, those have come along so much in terms of quality and production. So eco products are really a great choice. I love bamboo flooring. Cork can be great as well. I think cork can be quite divisive, but it is soft, it's comfortable, it's environmentally friendly. It holds in the heat, so it's it has thermal properties. And then of course we've got engineered wood, linoleum, concrete flooring. So, and then of course all the carpets and the natural types of fibres in the carpets. There are so many options. So just make sure that you get enough samples, you do enough testing, to make a choice on something that you really, really do love and that you know will perform for you and your family. Okay, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you everybody for joining me. If you found it useful, please do go and subscribe, share, review the podcast. I really would appreciate it. It just helps others find this useful renovation information as well, and helps them along on their renovation journey. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week for episode 25. See you then. Bye everyone. For more information on my 5-pillar process for successful renovation, you can go directly to southplacestudio.com/pillars, where you'll find an introduction to the process which covers each of the pillars and what they cover. We also have a number of other free renovation resources. Go now to southplacestudio.com/freebies. I have created some amazing freebies for you there. There is one on the process, like we just said. There is one on planning permission. There is one on kitchen design. There is another one on lighting planning. Go and check those out. There's so much free information there to help you with your renovation.